Welcome to the Friends of the Earth Malta podcast, where we discuss sustainability topics of importance to the Maltese Islands and beyond. Friends of the Earth Malta began in 1985 and is part of an international network of organizations, all working to reduce pollution, protect nature, reduce waste, promote local agriculture, and address climate change around the world. We bring you expert speakers to help you make sense of what's happening and what you can do. Welcome to the Friends of the Earth Malta podcast. This is the first of what we plan to be a series of podcasts focusing on environmental sustainability topics related to our work, as well as the work of others happening around Malta and the rest of the world. My name is Beth Fiteni, and I'm the Zero Waste Campaign Coordinator for Friends of the Earth Malta, and I will be your host. Today we're going to talk about food waste and a new project that Friends of the Earth Malta has been awarded via EU funding through the LIFE funding program to tackle this issue. We are proud to announce the start of this project called Food Connect, which will last 3 years. We're implementing it in conjunction with other partners in Cyprus and Portugal, including Friends of the Earth Cyprus. The goal of the project is to raise awareness about the issue of food waste and what we can do about it, and specifically to engage users on a platform that already exists. And what it does is it matches food donors with food receivers. The existing platform is called Foodprint, and so far it's only in use in Cyprus, but we plan to bring it to Malta. So it is an online tool through which facilities such as grocery stores or restaurants that have extra food that is still fresh that they wish to donate, they can go online and list what they have available, and then soup kitchens or even individuals can use this online tool to accept it and to go and pick it up. It's set up that the food would then be picked up by the recipient, as mentioned, and one goal of this new project is to update the tool to be an app usable on smartphones, because right now it's just on the computer, laptop, basically, and to add more features and make it even more useful, make it more user-friendly, and to adapt the platform to be used here in Malta, as mentioned. So we're very excited to get this started. It should be launched probably towards the end of this year in October of 2025. And we wanted to share a bit of background as to why we decided to become part of this project and why this is even an issue that needs our attention. So we'll speak today to our director, Galea de Giovanni, who helped to initiate our participation in this effort. But first, I will just chime in here with some facts and figures to fill out the picture. Globally, about 1/3 of edible food is wasted. That is an enormous volume of waste, which also embodies all of the energy, water, labor hours, pesticides, carbon emissions from transportation and refrigeration, and all the packaging that goes along with it. So it's not just wasting food, it's all of those other things too. According to the latest Eurostat data, the average EU citizen generates 132 kilograms each per year, amounting to an annual total of 59.2 million tons across the EU, equaling a market value estimated at 132 billion euros, all just being wasted. And regrettably, households are responsible for 54% of that total, while 46% of that waste is produced along the supply chain from the grower to the store, etc. So as for Malta, out of all the EU countries, Malta ranks 5th from the worst with 162 kilograms per capita, meaning per person annually of waste, food waste, which is 30 kilograms per person above that EU average that I just mentioned. But fortunately, there are ways to change this. Malta does have a great system for collecting residential food scraps, as provided by our waste management company, WasteServe. Through this system, organics collections are made curbside 3 times per week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. Residents can obtain biodegradable bags from their local council or purchase them at local markets and use these biodegradable bags to be put out for pickup, such as, food scraps, including fruit and vegetable peelings, cooked items, stale bread, eggshells, coffee grounds, anything else that is plastic-free and biodegradable can go in those bags and be put out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The main issue with the system is having more people adhere to the program by separating out their food scraps instead of throwing them in the black bag that goes to the landfill in Matab. The other big missing piece is that the commercial sector is not yet part of the system, meaning restaurants and grocery stores. So any food being discarded by markets or restaurants would be going to the landfill at Matab unless it's diverted to soup kitchens. And some of that is already taking place, but that's where our project comes in. So we're really excited. So now let's talk to our director, Martin Galea de Giovanni of Friends of the Earth Malta, for his input on all of this. So welcome, Martin.
Hello, and thanks for inviting me to this podcast.
Great, thank you for coming. So Martin, first, for those who are not familiar with our organization, can you tell us a little bit about how and when Friends of the Earth Malta started and your own background? Like, when did you become involved in FoE Malta?
Sure, I'll start off with Friends of the Earth. So Friends of the Earth actually is 40 years old now, actually. So this year we're celebrating our 40th anniversary, in fact. And it was set up as a youth environmental organization, actually. That was a time when most of the people who formed the organization were university students at the time. And then it evolved into what was called Movimento Ambient, which was movement for the environment. In the early 90s, it joined the Friends of the International Network, which is a network, actually, the largest network of environmental NGOs in the world, with over 75 groups around the world, actually. And we're also part of the Friends of the Earth Europe network as well, which obviously focuses more on our work related to EU affairs and stuff like that.
So what have Friends of the Earth Malta's main areas of work been over the years? Have you worked on waste issues in the past, basically?
Exactly. So waste is one of the topics that we have worked on since I remember as well. But we also, just to mention the different campaigns we are part of, basically we have a food, agriculture, and biodiversity campaign where we promote local farming and urban biodiversity and also pollinators and all that kind of stuff. Then we have a campaign on climate and mobility, actually. So that is something that we've been working on for a long time as well. And through that, we were quite instrumental in achieving the climate change bill in Malta, as one example. And obviously then there's the Zero Waste campaign and the Waste campaign, which has evolved in different ways along the years, but some of the core, obviously, work that we have been doing is obviously building on the work that has started many years ago. I remember you also asked me about how long I've been in the organization. I've been around for around 25 years now, actually. And I remember one of the first campaigns that I was involved in was related actually to composting, in fact. So this was around, yes. So it's, I mean, there were campaigns always before, even for example, and now we're currently doing some archiving and research actually on previous work, and we came across an initiative that we had, which was a collection of batteries way back in the early 90s. So there's been a lot of work related to the topic. And of course, I mean, there's been a lot more related to policy work in relation to waste, including the bottle return scheme, which is a bit more recent, and also the management of our landfill and the, from our perspective, is how to get away from that model, kind of.
Yes, exactly. I'm very excited because this year, Friends of the Earth Malta joined the organization Zero Waste Europe. So we'll be doing more work with them and under their guidance, as they have a lot of experience in other countries that we can learn from. So exactly as you were saying, under this campaign area of zero waste, which we were previously calling circular economy and resource use, we've actually joined Zero Waste Europe. So we're looking forward to working alongside that organization. And I wanted to know what prompted you to pursue this project that we're discussing today in particular. Like, what are some of the environmental or social problems being caused by food being wasted that, Friends of the Earth Malta is trying to address?
I mean, as we were saying, I mean, this is kind of a section of the issue, kind of, because waste obviously can incorporate all different issues starting from the production of waste in the first place, and also issues related to the growth or different economical models. And also, I mean, in this case, food waste, which is quite a big problem in Malta because, as you already mentioned, the numbers are quite worrying, in fact. Obviously, I mean, in this case, I mean, you mentioned the environmental issues related to food waste. It's not just about wasting food and and all that. It's also about the fact that this food normally ends up in the landfill, for example. There is methane emissions, which are then obviously a potent greenhouse gas, so it's compounding the issue related to climate change as well. There's also the fact that, I mean, it's that the loss of food in itself is very inefficient in various ways as well. Like, for example, the production of food already consumes a lot of water and a lot of energy in terms of fuel and pesticides and all that, which then, even though, I mean, there's the aspect of getting some of this energy back through some of the processes that were mentioned soon as well. But still, I mean, the fact that you're having something which can be used as it is, but then you're wasting it. I mean, there's a kind of negative effect kind of at the same time because you're wasting this, so you're not getting it back in the same done.
Like energy
Obviously,
loss.
yeah, the energy loss kind of through the energy and water loss as well, actually, because especially for Malta, which is turning into a desert kind of climate as well, and climate change. There's also the financial aspect as well. I mean, we don't produce most of our food, and so we're importing that, which means again the link to the energy bit. But we're also, I mean, it doesn't make financial sense to first import all this food and then end up throwing it in the landfill, basically. I mean, that's on a national level, but you can also see that from a kind of more family unit or household unit kind of level where people who might already be not doing so well are also not managing their food supplies well, which means additional food waste and additional strain on their budget as well, actually. And obviously, then there's a social aspect. I mean, we've recently visited, for example, the food bank, the Lifelink food bank, actually, where they informed us that they basically have 350 bags of food, which are distributed every week to families across Malta. So there's a need for this. And obviously, if the food is ending up in the landfill, the least that can be done is that it's redirected to these people who are constantly looking for food which is still in a good state, basically, obviously, where when they don't actually get the food from big companies or from other entities, they end up forking out this money themselves, which sometimes can end up being like 8,000 euros per month, for example, which is quite a lot of money.
Wow.
Same obviously with the soup kitchen, for example, which serves around 100 people per day. And in this case, obviously, I mean, it's not just delivering the food, but also cooking the food itself. So, I mean,
Wow. Very surprising. Yep. Many people in need here in Malta. So we're really hoping this project helps to address that. So that's my next question. What do you hope to be the outcome of the Food Connect project in terms of, what benefits do you hope it will provide?
as you mentioned, I mean, this project will be an interesting one. I mean, it builds on a project that, although we're not involved in, I think made a lot of sense. And we see that it's helping out already people in Cyprus. And so this is scaling it up to Malta and Portugal, basically. And I mean, the outcome I would want to see is that, well, first of all, less food waste is produced, but the food that is, well, not managed so well, at least it is still used through these entities and will make their life easier, I hope. I mean, they're already struggling with all the logistics behind this because this is quite a logistical endeavor, basically. And obviously, they don't want to disappoint people. I mean, if they promise people that they will take care of their food supplies. So we're just hoping that this project will help out with improving the system and making it more efficient in a way, I would say.
Great. Yes, I'm very much looking forward to working on it.
Mm.
I hope for all the same outcomes.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you foresee us working with grocery stores and restaurants to engage them in using this app? It should be launched towards the end of the year.
No, first of all, I guess it would be kind of, I mean, obviously, yes, as you're saying, I mean, this is a 1 year process until we get to the stage. But the idea is that these folks will understand the reason why we're doing it and how maybe a bit of effort from their side would be very useful and supportive of for many people, basically. But also that it could help them at least not just dump their additional food, basically, that they would otherwise still have to take to the landfill. So basically, I think that would be, and I'm hopeful that these shops basically and grocery stores will find this interesting. I mean, obviously, we already started some of these discussions and collaborations, and so far it sounds quite positive in the sense that I think people understand that this can be quite a positive project in a way, and
Mhm.
also because many people do not want to chuck their food waste in the landfill in a way, but in many cases or in some cases they are not aware of any other option, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I know we've been talking to a few key stakeholders already, and there's been some interest. So again, just looking forward to carrying out this effort and really hoping that it makes a difference, especially to help those in need here in Malta.
Mm,
So are there ways that people can reduce their food waste at home if people at home want to take action?
mm. Yeah, I mean, there are different ways, of course. I mean, this in a way it also ties with our food and agriculture campaign as well, where we ask people to first of all buy local and ideally also directly through a farmer. And in fact, we have the Malta Farm app, which we use to support this kind of customer farmer relations. So I think that's something that's a good start. We also have a pocket guide which tells people what is in season, which in most cases then also means that if you're going directly to the farmer or you're going to the farmer's market, it's also reducing other types of waste, like the packaging waste as well, for example, because you just buy them in whatever bag you have, or
Yeah.
paper bag, or
Mhm.
a crate or something.
Mhm.
So it's also starts at that level in a way. Well, I mean, we also, for example, at our office, as you know, we also have held zero waste cooking classes where some of the things that people think are meant to go to waste or there's nothing else to do with them, you can reuse them. I don't know, like for example, vegetable cuttings just to make the food, the soup kind of stock, kind of food stock, things that people think that are not useful for cooking. They might be not so. I mean, they are useful actually. Yeah, freezing food, for example, you have an extra instead of just chucking it out. Yeah, also checking and understanding the difference, for example, between the expiry dates, best before dates, because many people throw away goods which are just indicating a best before date, which is not the same as an expiry date, for example, but also about how to manage these things. Like, for example, if you obviously buy an item today and you have this item from, I don't know, it's a can of beans or whatever, you obviously use the can of beans that you bought before, but I mean, it doesn't take a lot of effort, but sometimes people realize that they have stuff which had been lurking in their cupboards for months or years, which then
Mhm.
obviously might be in a state which is not good for consumption.
Mhm.
But what can you do with that as well? Then eventually, I mean, yeah, I mean, then it's it's food waste, but at least what do you do then? Do you chuck it in the bin or do you compost it at least?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
some things, or some things which can be used for animal feed, for example. So
Mhm.
there are different steps until some, and the last step, which we hope to avoid, is the landfill. But there are many opportunities, I would say, even to not let things end up in the landfill.
Yes, exactly. And they end up in the landfill if you put them in the black bag here in Malta.
Yeah.
So these are great tips to help prevent food waste in the first place. And we really hope to include more of this type of information on our social media. So anyone out there listening, please be sure to follow Friends of the Earth Malta on Facebook and Instagram. In general, I also wanted to mention that for those interested, Friends of the Earth Malta has produced a fact sheet on how to compost at home. So like Martin was just saying, if it's not edible, I mean, that's the best, highest use is eat the food directly. Feeding humans is number one. And then number two, if it's not edible anymore, composting at home is a great way to go. So the fact sheet talks about what to put in your bin, how to balance it in order to successfully produce compost and avoid any smells, making sure to keep it aerated, things like that. So you can find that in our social media. So you can look for it there. And maybe someday we can have a podcast just dedicated to that topic in the future. And also,
there's a lot to say about that as well, exactly.
Yes, there's a lot to say about that. We have compost bins at our office in Floriana. And yes, I wanted to talk maybe sometime in the future about anaerobic digestion, because the food that is collected here in Malta in those biodegradable bags, most of it, I believe, is going to an anaerobic digester. So that's a whole topic for another day. So I wanted to say thank you to you. It's been very interesting. Any other final thoughts you'd like to share about this topic of food waste and our new Food Connect project?
Well, I guess just invite people to eventually keep following Friends of the Earth and our newsletter, so that once we launch this, they'll be the first to know, I guess. And also, if there's some entity, some restaurant or grocery shop or other shop that might be interested to tell us their kind of experiences and maybe their problems as well. As we're building this, get in touch as well, I guess.
Great. Thank you so very much for being our guest on this podcast. We have been listening to Martin Galea de Giovanni. He's the director of Friends of the Earth Malta. This has been an episode of the Friends of the Earth Malta podcast. I hope it has helped our listeners understand the broader picture behind food waste and food scrap management. If you would like to know more about our food waste project or any of our other work to help protect Malta's environment, please see our website at friendsoftheearthmalta.org, or FoEMalta.org, I should say, FoEMalta.org, where you can sign up for our monthly newsletter or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Friends of the Earth Malta podcast, where we discuss sustainability topics of importance to the Maltese Islands and beyond. Many thanks to our guests for sharing their expertise, and to the team here at Friends of the Earth Malta who helped to make it happen. And also thank you to Burn, the musicians who provided our podcast music, who use music to talk about issues they deeply care about, including the climate emergency and social justice, while instilling hope for the future. See their solar-powered website at burnofficial.com. You can learn more about Friends of the Earth Malta's work on our website, foemalta.org, and by following us on our Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn pages. And please be sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter, where you can keep up with all of our ongoing events and activities. We'd love to hear your feedback. See you next time.